You didn't fall off the ladder, I hope.
No.
Okay.
No. Just checking. It's funny because I'm like looking back and I'm like, easily, you lean the wrong way.
Long ways.
That's that aspect of like moving your body and like trying to create something is like, that's like my creative energy. A pretty bad experience where I was messaged directly by someone, a model scout, who get me in with all these agencies and charging, crazy fee for all this. Nothing ever happens of it. Basically just takes the money from these models and doesn't help them at all. It's great. My goal for this year, I have some castings for Fashion Week in New York and
Influencer Insight shares the battles, stories, successes of models, influencers, and entrepreneurs as they find the balance of being influential leaders today while creating long-lasting impact for the future.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another session of Influencer Insights, where I have Anastasia Livesay with me. Livesay, I did mess it up. We talked about that before the podcast started here, but Anastasia is joining us she's in New York right now.
New Jersey. Only about an hour away from New York City.
Perfect. She grew up by Connecticut and she went to school in New York, so she's kind of fairly familiar with that whole tri-state area, and recently got into modeling here in 2024. We're really excited to have her on and hear the beginnings of what brought her to the point of jumping into modeling and hearing how that journey is going. So welcome, Anastasia. Glad to have you.
Thank you for having me. Yeah. Hey everyone. I'm not really sure how to do intros, but
weird thing, right?
I'll try my best. Yeah, I grew up in Connecticut, born and raised, and then I went to college at Syracuse University. So I was in upstate New York for 4 years in the tundra. And then eventually I ended up moving down to New Jersey to be closer to the beach. So a little bit different, but I've kind of been all over the tri-state. And my modeling career really didn't start until last year.
Models, join us on Facebook in our group where we've got all kinds of support and training you need to become a better model today. Check the link in the description.
So 2024 was the year where I said, you know what, I have always had a very big interest and passion for fashion, beauty, makeup, but I never really had the time to take it seriously. Before my modeling, I was really into sports. I grew up a competitive athlete my whole life. So once I've kind of put that part of my life away and retired, so to speak, from sport, I really felt that last year was the year I could just really start going for it. And yeah, it's been great ever since. I started really summer of June. I did a ton of shoots on the beach, and my goal was to hopefully eventually get signed by an agency before the end of 2024. It was, a crazy goal. I didn't really expect it to happen. And thankfully it did. And I'm very, very grateful for everything so far. So I'm still very new in my journey, but I am loving it and just trying to see what happens for the new year.
Awesome. That's perfect because a lot of people are at the same place or maybe even behind you. Maybe they're just thinking about it, Anastasia. So it's nice to have somebody's perspective that's not too far down the road, because sometimes that happens too. And there's, too many information or pieces that you don't try and put together. And so it's good to hear somebody right at your perspective there. So interesting about the beach. I did see on your Instagram, you got lots of beach shoots. Those are tough to accomplish out here. I haven't ventured into that too much myself, but is the beach kind of just a place you want to be moving back there to New Jersey and stuff? Or?
Yes, I love the beach. I feel like if I could live in the ocean, I would. Nice. I grew up my first sport actually was swimming, and I think my mom had me in like those mommy and me classes like when I was like in diapers, like super young. She said, right. I always loved the water. Like even like in the pool at the beach as a kid, totally was like an aqua baby. Nice. So it kind of is like a full circle moment. And when I first was thinking about the types of shoots I wanted to do, it was timing wise, it was great because it was the summer, it was warm, and I would reach out to photographers who were willing to come and shoot on the beach, either down here or I would drive to New York and shoot out on Long Island. But pretty much every weekend from June until even end of August when it was like 50, I was shooting on the beach.
You definitely want to do that when it's warm anyway, right? Because
Yes. There was one, I'll go on a quick tangent. There was one shoot, like my last beach shoot. It was sunrise. That's the other thing. I love the morning. I'm a Muslim. I'll get up early. I'll shoot at 5 a.m. Like, I don't care. It was probably pushing 50, like air temperature wise. It was frozen, and we were trying to do a shoot to get published in a magazine, and I was trying so hard to make it look like so natural and not look freezing, but I feel like every time I looked down there was like goosebumps everywhere and my teeth were chattering, and I'm like, you know what, I think this is probably the end of the outdoor beach shoots, and we could maybe more transition to studio going forward. But I really enjoyed the whole summer, and it was good.
Nice. Backing up a little bit, so you're a kid, got into sports. What other sports did you do besides the swimming?
So I tried a little bit of everything. I was a kid with, I still to this day, I suffer from like ADHD and anxiety. We can get to that a little bit later.
Sure.
But I feel like I had to try a little bit of everything. So I did swimming, I did soccer, I did basketball, lacrosse, skiing. My parents had me on skis at a very young age too, like really all over the map. And then as I got older, I kind of picked a few sports and really like specialized in that. So I played soccer, even internationally as a young kid. I think it was it was like 10 or 11, I believe. I was in Sweden playing for, it was called the Gothia Cup, and that was pretty cool. So and then when I got to high school, I got injured. I had a really big knee surgery, so my doctor recommended pausing the contact sports and any sports that had a lot of like quick lateral movements and focus on something else. And I found rowing, actually, and I didn't start until high school.
Wow.
I was always tall growing up, and rowing favors taller athletes. So I had a friend who's like, you should try rowing. Come down to the boathouse, we'll go out for a test run and see how you do. And that was it. And I fell in love with it. And I then just continued rowing, and I rowed in college. And yeah, that's my little journey in sports.
Nice. Did you pursue any of that? When did you graduate college, I guess?
So I graduated in 2016, and then post-collegiately, I switched. I stopped rowing, and then I got into the triathlon. So 3 sports, again, goes back to I have to be doing like multiple things.
Yep.
It's swim, bike, run, and I competed in that for several years. I had the swimming background. I was pretty solid, like cardiovascularly, because I was always doing sports where it involved a lot of running. So the biking and the running is fairly easy to learn, or at least I thought so. So you know what? It was another thing, another challenge, and it felt like I was at the right time in my life to try something new. I was doing that and also working full time, but still continuing with the athletics. I did that for a couple years, and then COVID hit, and that kind of really changed the landscape of everything. Like races weren't happening. It was very, very difficult to train, and that's when I kind of started to rethink a lot of things. And I think I enjoyed my time as an athlete. I really, really did. But I was also getting to a point mentally where I was a little burnt out. And it felt like really missing out on other aspects of life. So I took a step back from athletics, and that's when I started thinking about what I want to do next and how modeling came into play.
Nice. Cool. Yeah, that's it. I mean, I think there's been a lot of athletes that have kind of transitioned into the modeling thing just because you're fit, ready to go, and probably you've seen a lot of just posing and know how to make things work in a camera and that kind of thing too. So cool. I
was going to say, and modeling is just as much as of an athletic thing. People don't really, most people think it's just, like smile in front of the camera, like,
look pretty.
Poses. It's some of these, really, really, really high end edgy looks. It's crazy the things that you have to do and hold, and it requires so much more than just like, that's what really I find the connection between the two, and I think that's why I resonate with it. It's like, not only you're creating this like beautiful art, but it really does involve some form of athleticism.
Totally. Yeah. The best shots often are 1 of 1,000 where you're standing in this really awkward position, right?
Yeah.
So what kind of brought, like, how did you decide to get into the modeling? Was it just like, did you have a friend? I mean, you said you were interested in it, but what's this catalyst that I'm gonna do this?
There was a couple of people I just like follow online that I've seen.
Cool.
I've always been really like into photography, and yes, I like taking pictures, but I also like being on the other side of the camera. And
Sure.
I honestly would just go, like, even just being in my backyard, I would put my phone on a tripod and just practice on my own.
Yep.
And I realized that I'm like, this is, I enjoy doing this. Like, I look forward to the days where I do make time for that. And I'm like, this, this means something. I can not only try to maybe pursue something that I just genuinely enjoy as a hobby, and maybe try to turn it into a career. Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, like I feel like just that aspect of like moving your body and like trying to create something is like, that's like my creative energy. Like, I know like I'm horrible at drawing. I'm horrible at like everyone always joke my handwriting is so messy. I'm like, I'm not like good in that creative space,
Sure.
but I'm very good at using like myself to create something. And also, like, I've always been very musically inclined. That's my other part of my life, is that I was in the band and the orchestra growing up. I've always loved music, and I find that like music and modeling go like hand in hand.
Totally. Yeah, it's a dance as well. It fits in there too, right? Where people are just the way they move, and go back to your sports career too, right? So that all just fits. So very cool. No, that's awesome. What was the, like, you did a little shooting on your own with the phone. What was kind of your like first shoot? Did you just find a TFP, or did you pay a photographer the first round, or?
So the first round, it was a paid shoot, because I had researched a little bit in terms of like, what's the best way. Should I try to be a freelance model? Should I try to sign with an agency? And I really just used Instagram and was looking up different agencies and DMing them. And if someone got back to me, great. If not, also totally, I wasn't expecting anything. And one agency had replied back, and I actually got on a call with the agent, and it was kind of just giving me tips on how to like build my book and get started. And he had put me in contact with a few different photographers. So there was one I ended up shooting with, and that was paid, but it was my first shoot ever, period. So that was on the beach, and it was one of like my favorite shoots to date, because not only did I was a little bit nervous, but I felt there was some part of me that just feels like, I'm like, this is what I should be doing. Like, everything that I tried to do in front of the camera just felt really natural, and I was getting good feedback. And I'm like, you know what? This just kind of like jump started me wanting to, okay, let me reach out to someone else. Maybe they can shoot the next weekend, and so on and so forth. But that shoot, I will always probably remember in my head as like, this was like the first time where in a long time I felt I'm where I need to be. This is good.
Cool realization though too, that sense of like, I'm where I need to be, right? So, because sometimes
I'm like,
there's a little bit of pursuing,
cliche?
right?
But like,
yeah, it does. But
really
it's
like
true.
how I felt.
Yeah. No, good for you. That's amazing, and that definitely comes through in the work that you create too. I think when people are feeling aligned with what they're doing, it shows up, right? So, what's kind of one of the coolest shoots, or something that you've done that's kind of been crazy since that first endeavor?
So there was one shoot I did. It was probably about maybe like a month or 2 months ago at this point, and it was at a studio in Brooklyn, and it was a TFP shoot, and the photographer I had shot with once before on the beach, and then we were like, oh, let's do something in studio when it gets colder. We worked really well together. He's great. So booked a studio in Brooklyn, and they had a ladder, like a full size ladder in the studio. We're like, maybe we can use this and figure out, we'll do some cool shots of like leaning on the ladder. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm not afraid of heights. Like, I'll climb up on the top, and we'll try to do some stuff up there. So I was on top of this ladder, like, real, like, it is thin. It is so thin. I'm like trying to like look as natural as I can. It's right by the window, so like great natural light coming in. I'm like loving this. And that to me was so cool. And I'm like, you know what? I want to do more stuff like this, like challenge myself and use different props and see what I can create. So that was like one of my favorite experiences so far.
You didn't fall off the ladder, I hope.
No.
Okay.
No.
Just checking.
It's funny because I'm like, I wasn't even nervous, and like looking back on it, I'm like, easily, you lean the wrong way.
Long ways.
That's it.
So do you mind if I ask how tall you are? I'm just picturing.
Yeah. So I'm 5'9".
Okay.
A lot of people think I look taller. I don't know why, but yeah, I always say when I'm 5'9", really? I'm like, okay. Yeah, I don't think I grew, but
that's what I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes the way you hold yourself carries a long way too, right? And that's a big part of modeling too, is that people believe that you're where you are in your height look aesthetic, right? So,
and it's so funny because I used to, like, when I was a kid, I grew really fast. So I was always like one of the taller people in my class. And
nice.
I was super self-conscious about it. Like I would actively like hunch over, and like to the point where I remember going to my doctor and she was like, you're going to develop scoliosis or something. You can't be like actively hunching over like this. You're going to have
Yeah.
problems. I'm like, yeah, but I hate being tall. My parents would always be like, sit up, sit up. But anyways, I was always self-conscious of it. And then it's funny, as I got older, and I got into things that like favored height, I'm like, you know what? I should embrace this.
100%.
There's no reason why. Like looking back, and I'm like, oh man, the things you worry about as a kid. But rowing, like I said, taller athletes, like you have a little bit more of an advantage. And same with modeling. I know it's changed a little bit nowadays, which I think is great.
It's still one way.
It does help. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's just easier to shoot people that have more length in them, and nothing against anybody else, but yeah, for sure. Good for you, and good for you to identify that. I think that's something where a lot of people will sit with those, I don't know if we want to call them insecurities, but things that you judge yourself on for most of their life, and they don't actually ever get over it. So you didn't just get over it, but you took it on and owned it. So that's pretty cool. So
Thank you.
what's been the most favorite part of modeling to this point? Is there something that you could pick of it? Or is it?
I really think it's like meeting people and connecting with people. I'm very much like an extrovert. Like I love people. I love talking to people. I like meeting new people, hearing their stories. Like even when it's just meeting a photographer for the first time, I'm always like, oh, like, where you're from. I try to have a conversation, not just there just to like, take the pictures and go. Like I genuinely am interested in people. And I think one of the great things about modeling nowadays and technology is that we have tools like Instagram where you can connect with a whole community of people, that it's so easy just to like shoot a message or send pictures back and forth. Like all of that, I think,
set up a podcast.
Is great. Yes, exactly. Like what we're doing, like set up a podcast. Like you're in Canada, I'm in the US, and like we can easily make this work. So I love that aspect of modeling. In addition to, I love photo shoots. Like I said, I love posing and challenging myself and trying to create just like beautiful stories and pieces of work with different people. But I also do really like the networking aspect and just connecting with people.
So curious on your kind of where you're taking this. Like, do you have ways of keeping track of the inspiration or kind of the shoots that you want to do? Like, I know when you're doing swimmer and you're on the beach, I mean, it's generally par for the course where you are, but is there kind of different ways that you found inspiration and kind of planning shoots in the future? Or
yeah, I'll do a mixture of things. I'll use Pinterest for a lot of I'll create boards, whether that's for myself or if I'm collaborating with a photographer or designer. Like I love creating these shared boards, and we can add different images and like inspiration and things like that. I'm a very visual person, so if I see something, it's very easy for me to remember it.
Sure.
And to try to, do something similar if that's what I'm going for. But other things, I do like to collaborate with people. If there's something that like I have in mind that I think I'm missing, maybe in my portfolio, and I'd want to add, I'll reach out to photographers who would be interested in shooting that stuff. But I also like hearing what, other ideas from other people and taking those and even trying to work with it. So all different things, Pinterest, just talking, conversations, and
cool. What has helped with, because you recently got signed with an agent, again, congratulations, very exciting.
Thank you.
How has that helped you a little bit in your development? Have they given you any direction or?
Yeah, so far it's still pretty recent. And I've been in contact, and they've been really great communicating, getting me set up. So now I'm on like the website, and I can actually book clients like through my link. And so far it's been great. My goal for this year, I have some castings for Fashion Week in New York in February. So nice. Runway is something that I have no experience in to date.
That'd be fun.
So I'm doing everything I can. They've given me great resources so far, and things that I can do to get myself prepared for those castings. Nice. So yeah, that's like the most, like, I don't really get nervous a lot. Like, I don't know if that's bad to say, but I always like try to go into things and I have an open mind. But this is like the first time in a while where I actually genuinely feel pretty
A little on
nervous.
edge.
Yeah.
Just try practicing walking in the biggest heels you can for the next 4 weeks and you'll be fine, right?
Yeah, like I'm like stomping around the house. My boyfriend's like crazy, but like, you know, it's you got to do what you got to do. And like I said, I'm visual, so I'll watch, like I'll go on YouTube, watch runway shows, watch other models, like try to get tips and things, and then try to, you know, watch. I have a mirror, I can like walk in front of a mirror, just like anything I can do to like get myself prepped, I will do. I'm a very hard worker.
Nice. Yeah, all of those pieces really do come together in the end. Natural as you can make it look, that's what they say, right? So
Yeah.
Have you been able to book any work this far or still developing?
Still developing, and I'm hoping, so 2025 is like the year I really want to start booking like more paid jobs. I also would like to try to get into other markets as well. I don't know if that's too big of a goal at this point, but I'm always one to like, I rather set bigger goals for myself than not. So sure. I would love to get into other markets. I do have like, there are 3 like dream brands that I would love to work for, and you know, whether or not that happens is okay, but I like Calvin Klein is like, I've always loved Calvin Klein. I think the aesthetic fits me really well.
Sure.
I love like simple like jeans and like a white tee, and like love it. Sports Illustrated swimsuit. I mean, that would be like,
that's the golden mark.
Come true.
Yeah.
And they're doing an open search for the first time in a few years. This 2025 years is they're opening it up to everyone, so you can apply and submit, and it's nice because they haven't done that in a couple years.
While.
Yeah.
So definitely got not just the modeling now, but you've got the sports background to match that as well. So
yeah, that would be crazy.
Hey, if you were on that cover and on my podcast first, I mean, that's even crazier for me. So that's look at that. So here's hoping for all of us. So very good. Have you ran into any things to be cautious of, Anastasia, yet in your modeling journey? Anybody weird?
Like unfortunately,
like a million.
I feel like it goes back to the whole like internet thing, and like I said, I love social media, and I think it's such a great tool, but at the same time there's, you know, also a lot of creeps and these people that call themselves model scouts. And I actually had a pretty bad experience where I was messaged directly by someone claiming to be a model scout who could, you know, make me a comp card and get me in with all these agencies because they have some type of connection, and charging, you know, crazy fee for all this. And I come to find out there's a few other models that like I knew from social media who I talked to, who we also reached out to, and nothing ever happens of it. Basically just takes the money from these models and doesn't help them at all. It's like, that's it. There's no communication after that. So it's just like things like that make me very discouraged, especially for younger models who are just not even in college yet, high school age, and can easily get taken advantage of. It's so sad, and it's really hard to navigate through some of this, because some people, they really sell you on it. They really look legit. Yeah. And there's no way of knowing.
Do you mind, just from your experience, because I mean, obviously, I reached out to you through my kind of usual channel of connecting with people. What's the difference between somebody that you know is maybe safe, or you're okay with trying or going the next step with a little bit on a collaboration? What's the difference between somebody like that and somebody that gets spammy? Did you notice any trends in the way they talk or way they message? Or
so sometimes it's hard just by the way they message, but you know what the other beautiful thing about the internet is? You can look up anything. So I would do my research. I would see the followers. I would go on the post and look at the comments. Are people commenting? Is it because some people they'll have a lot of followers, but they don't have any engagement. So usually that's a pretty big red flag to me. Sure. I'll even go as far as reach out to other models that say it's a photographer and they have worked with before. I kind of ask like, what was your experience like? You know, anything weird, anything that I should be aware of? Do you think a good idea? Yeah. And for you're a great example because you have a pod. So I looked up your podcast. I listened to a few episodes. So there's ways that you can you can vet people. I would just say like make sure you do your research.
Yeah.
Don't just go accepting things, and just because someone's telling you, oh, you're so beautiful and I can make you the next Giselle, whatever.
Yeah, for sure. No, those are big points. What about when you get out shooting and you're at the location? Have you picked up on some tips that you should be watching for, or?
Yes. I was say if it's if it's going to be an outdoors, I always tried to do it in a location where there was other people around. So if it was ever on the beach, it was never me in like a sketchy parking lot. It was always me in a public place. There was always other people around. Even if I felt safe going into it, you never know. I would share my location on my phone with either someone from my family or a friend. If anything were to happen, like you see where I am. My boyfriend is a perfect example of, I would text him all the information, the details of where I'm going to be shooting.
Yep.
Just so then you can, cover your bases and make sure that other people know where to find you, that you're safe. And I would say like those are some things that really stand out to me.
Good.
And really important. And I just make sure I do that like every shoot. The other thing is like signing. I know some photographers signing like model releases is important as well, just so everything is documented. Yes.
Yeah, no, those are good things. And I think for a lot of models, I think you mentioned technology, location, and stuff like that, but there's some pretty good contract making apps and that sort of thing out now that I think you're going to see more and more come online, because people do stupid things, so better to have it documented beforehand, right? So
yes,
cool. No, that's super helpful. Anybody that's getting into it, I think they're going to find some value in that. And when you start out modeling, you just want to go take some pictures, just make some art, but get yourself in a situation pretty fast sometimes where you're like, okay, how do I get out of this, right? So
and you always want to have have that way out, just in case. And you never want to be in a situation where something like that happens, where you do feel uncomfortable and you need to contact someone. But I always have like my phone nearby if I need something. And like too, like it goes back to that kind of like really vetting that person before you go meet with them. Another thing I just thought of too, even bringing a friend or bringing someone with you on a shoot could be great. I did that for a few, where I would ask point blank, hey, do you mind if I bring someone? They're just gonna, they'll be there just to like either assist or just even if they're just helping with hair, makeup, or whatever.
Totally.
And if they say yes, totally, okay, great, sounds good. If they say no, to me, that is a red flag, and you say thank you, but I'll be canceling on to the next one.
Yeah, 100%. Especially on a TFP or something where you're just collaborating and trading time, right? So
yeah,
no, absolutely. Good point. Shifting gears a little bit, what's something that people maybe don't know about you that maybe they wouldn't see on the camera or catch on your social media feed?
I would say, like, so I mentioned before, I love people. I'm definitely a people person.
Good.
But I do also really value my alone time and like having time to myself, even if it's just an hour to like listen to music or organize my month. I'm really big into planning, and I have a calendar for everything because I feel like there's always just so much going on. If I don't write it down, I'm like not gonna show up for it, or I'll forget.
It happens, right?
I definitely need I love going out and meeting people and being with people, and being with my family. Family is really important to me, but cool. I also do like need that alone time, and I am very like introverted at times.
Do you listen to the orchestra music that you play alone time?
It's funny. I love like classical music. I pretty much listen to anything except for like scream metal and bluegrass. I'll listen to every type of music. Yes, I love movie scores, Broadway like scores, but I also love The Weeknd and Morgan Wallen. Like it's really all over the map.
Cool. No, those are all good things to do. I kind of picture I don't know what it is about rowing, but to me it's like I picture people just put their headphones in and play classical music and just row away. I don't know why I had that in my head, but it seems like that fits well. So
well, it's funny because when you watch rowing, like people really only see it like when it's on the Olympics, because it's not like a popular mainstream sport, but they make it look so effortless.
Yeah.
And like me being in the position where I'm like, I know how that pain feels, and it's so terrible at times, and you feel like at the end of like a race when you're trying so hard, it's like all that lactic acid is building up, and like it's physically hard to move, but they make it look so easy.
Yeah, it's just nothing.
That's like, that's an art in and of itself.
Yeah, totally. It's very impressive. I do, whenever I see, not that it's been that many times, but I've seen in a river bank or whatever, you see the rowing team going and you're like, well, that's harder than it looks every time. Right?
Yeah.
So, very cool. Mental health. I think that's something we like to try and touch on where we can. And you mentioned a little bit of anxiety and ADHD earlier in life. How was those things? How did that begin, and where did you discover that? How has it taken you and gone through life like that?
So it took a lot of like self-reflecting, I think, and I really do believe that there were like times in 2020 and COVID where I could actually have time to like reflect on my childhood and just things that I didn't really realize at the time. When I was 10, my parents went through a pretty nasty divorce, and I had a lot of behavioral issues in school. Like I was acting out, and I think part of that because I was dealing with something so traumatic, but also I really do think there was, a greater mental health things going on. And this past year, 2024, was the year where I finally said, you know what, like I need to take control of certain things, because the anxiety the last couple of years I've started to notice become a problem affecting me more day to day. And I was always taught to kind of like suppress my feelings, just like, keep moving forward and don't let it bother you. You can save it for another time. So yeah, like my whole life, I would just like put things in a box and just forget that it was there until it got to a point where like, something would happen and I would like self-implode. So I found a therapist at the beginning of 2024, and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to commit to it. We're going to do weekly sessions and we'll see how it goes. And it's honestly been like one of the best things I've done for myself. I feel like my anxiety has gotten a lot better. I still have a ton of work to do and a lot more progress to be made, but the progress that I was able to make between start of last year and now has been so great.
Very cool. Did somebody say, hey, you should go to a therapist, or did you just decide to do that on your own?
I had a couple friends who've gone to therapy, and I've talked to them about it, and I'm like, this is kind of like what I'm dealing with. Do you recommend this be the route to try? And I'm always someone to like want to try to heal in that way before like medications or any type of that stuff. So I'm like, you know what, let me try this first. There's just a lot of things that I'm experiencing that I'm like, is this normal? I need to talk to someone who's like trained in this in order to actually get better, versus like my method would either be to, like I said, like package it away, or just like exercise. Like I would over exercise through a lot of my trauma, and that's not healthy either.
No.
Yeah.
Anything depending on how deep you want to get with that, but anything that you've learned that you think might be helpful, somebody else may be experiencing the same kind of trauma that you came to a realization of? Or
I would say it's tough, because it's good to find people who maybe have gone through similar experiences, because then you can talk to them and they can kind of relate to it on a different level. But I would say, like, if you're even thinking about therapy, I would recommend it to anyone who is even considering it. I think it's so helpful to have that like neutral third party who's not only just like trained to handle some of these situations, but also can provide just like a different perspective, and really like she would question me on a lot of stuff, and then I would think and reflect and really like, oh, should I, do I really need to be obsessing over this one emotion constantly 24/7? And like, this is, I feel like there's a lot of value that I didn't realize that therapy has. And now I'm very, very thankful that I finally just said, you know what, something's got to change.
Well, a lot of times that's really what it comes down to for all of us though, right? Is I just got to do something different in my life, right? Because I don't want to be on the same path, right? So
yeah, because you also sometimes don't realize how much it affects you until you do have time to slow down and realize, okay, you know what, and the other thing about me is like, I'm always not so much. I mean, yes, I kind of am a people pleaser. Like I always like want to like do things for other people. And that's just kind of like how I always been, and really not putting myself first. And part of, taking care of your mental health is sometimes you do have to put yourself first and take care of yourself before you can be there for other people. So in order for me to want to show up better for other friends and members of my family and like some of those relationships that I have now, I'm like, I need to do something with my own mental health. and focus on that for at least last year. That was like my main focus.
Well, and it helped with bringing to the modeling thing. I think I'm guessing that probably helped in some of the healing too, right? But
yeah, like I said, it helped with a lot of like the self-reflection. I'm like, should I do this now that I'm in a good headspace and I can focus on other things? It's so funny how I'm such a big believer in like things happen for a reason and things happen at like certain times and
Totally.
points in life. And the one thing I would say, I'm like, oh man, I wish I would have started this like earlier in my life, but what's the point in harping on that? Like, it's not going to get me anywhere. So let's either start it now and move forward, or I don't want to be 20 years down the line and wonder what could have been.
Wish you did. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
That's so well said. I guess that leads us kind of towards where's the next stage for Anastasia and her modeling and career.
Sports Illustrated Swim.
Put that on the vision
that
board.
Would be insane. But you know what? If I talk about it or I manifest it enough, it'll happen.
Quite possible.
No, that would be crazy. I'm definitely gonna throw my hat in the ring. We'll see what happens. But I would love to, like I said, continue to book more paid work this year, get into runway, continue to work with my agency, and kind of like really like have my big breakout. And then if I can get into some of the other markets and kind of just see where I can go.
Explore and expand as much as you possibly can. So
yeah, I'm loving it. So it doesn't even like I said, I wake up every day and I'm excited. And when somebody messages me and they're like, hey, do you want to shoot? Even if it, TFP, whatever, I'm like, I just feel like there's a spark inside of me. I'm like, yes, like, let's do it.
Do it. Good. No, that's very exciting. And exciting to see the enthusiasm, because I know that takes a lot on the days that are difficult too, right? Just to be focused and direction headed. So
yes.
How do people get a hold of you? If they want to follow you, or if they want to go find you to be on Sports Illustrated Swimsuit, or
I would say probably the best place is Instagram. I'm at stash411 at STASH411. I'm also on TikTok, but I post on there a little bit. I definitely post more of my like modeling updates and things on Instagram. So I would say Instagram's probably your best place to find.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Well, that's very exciting. I guess your agent's probably listed there too, so people want to book you through them as well. So
yes, I have. It's Hannah Noel Models, and I have a link in my bio if you wanted to book with me. So feel free.
Good. I'm sure we'll keep building lots of contacts, or you'll get lots of feedback. So good. My favorite question, and I don't actually list it on the sheet, so this is kind of an off-the-cuff one, but if you hit SI Swimsuit, or if your Instagram just poof blows up into 1 million followers, what would be the first thing you'd want to tell all those people? Message you want to share?
I would just tell everyone thank you so much for everyone who supports me, and especially the ones who've been with me since I was a kid, in, like I said, in diapers in the swim pool. Like, there were some people that I have had in my life, not just family but really good friends, for that long, and I honestly would be shocked. I'm like, I can't believe this is real life, and that I get to do something like this and achieve this crazy goal. So it wouldn't be possible without everyone who helps and supports me. So I just want to thank everyone, to be honest. I would be in such a shock.
Well, that's really important. Remember the people you're going up with, right? So
yeah. And also to people who think it's impossible, don't sell yourself short. You truly never know where life can take you. So never, always set your goals high. Never settle for less.
Totally. Yeah, well said. Well, thank you for your time, Anastasia. We appreciate you coming on and sharing about your modeling journey, and we're looking forward to hearing more about that and how you make out in New York in a few weeks, and also just some of the background and what it takes to get to where you are. A lot of mental work that gets done, so we appreciate you sharing that. So
thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been awesome. So